What's up, y'all? This is Trey Smith. I'll come at you guys, my boy, Josh Dobbs. Today, we have a special guest. This is the Vice President of the NBPA, two-time SEC Player of the Year, a former Boston Celtic, and now a current Dallas Mav. One of the biggest nerds I know, a fellow friend, also a fellow volunteer, Grant Williams. Bro, Grant, thanks for coming on the podcast today with us, bro.
Thanks for having me, brother.
Grant Williams, man. First question I want to know is, how did you cop the invitation to the all-white party?
Really, it was just because the first year I ever went was because of the NBPA and the role I have, because I was the first vice president. Tamika now know Michael Rubin well, and I knew Mike well. So then after that, I went that first year, and we all got lit, had a great time. And then this second year, I just got invited back because, like I said, we had a good time, and it was one of those things that they wanted us to come back, and I'm hopefully on the recurring invite list.
Grant, go into that story with Beyonce. How did that happen at the all-white party?
Oh, yeah. So really, that year, that was the first year I went. We were just hanging out. I was hanging out with the guys from the union and a couple of guys that are entertainers, whether it was Baby and Dirk and those guys and Meek. And we're just sitting there chopping it up, and all of a sudden you just see this big posse roll up, and it's pretty cool because I'm like, oh, I wonder who that is, And then next thing you know, you just see Jay walking in front. You dab Jay up, like, oh, okay, maybe it's just Jay here. And then all of a sudden you see Beyonce. You're like, wow, no wonder she's so stunning. I grew up. My dad was in stage management. I was on stage with Beyonce when I was like 4 years old.
Did she remember you at the all-white party?
No, definitely not. If I would have been like, hey, do you know my dad, Gil Williams? I don't know. I'm not doing that. Like, what are we doing? So I'm over here just talking, I try and make everything, I don't treat people like they're special. I'm just like, yo, you're a normal person. Let's have a conversation. So certain people like that. And it was cool because I've met a lot of people in my past just when growing up. There's certain people I've done that too. I remember my dad, you guys talked to my dad prior to him getting on, and he's a guy that I've always respected and loved, but I always say you never know what to believe half the time because it's 50% could be true and then 95% could be not. And then you have to call him out on it. So it'll be one of those things. I remember there was one time in which I did try and call him out on it. He was like, you wonder how Dr. J got his nickname? Me. I was in the rear at Rucker Park and we were just talking. We were hanging out, blah, blah, blah. He's doing his thing, does his little move. I say, no, call him the club, whatever his nickname is. And I was like, all right, yeah, cool. So then he's like, when you see him, introduce yourself and say you know who his dad is. And so we're actually together. We're walking through the airport. I see Dr. J just sitting there. I'm like, Dad, it's Dr. J. I'm probably 10 years old at the time. And he's like, go introduce yourself. Tell me who your father is. And so I walk up to him, shake his hand. I'm like, how you doing, Mr. Irving? I'm Grant Williams. And he was like, my dad is Gil Williams. He's like, who? Gil Williams? And then my dad walks up. And then he just stares him in his face. They're staring at each other for a little bit, looking at each other in their eyes. He's like, what's up, black? Or some shit like that. And all of a sudden, my dad, Dr. J goes, Gil? And I was like, hold on. This can't be true. So they chopped it up like it was yesterday because my dad's good friends with him, Tiny Archibald, all these guys. And he just recognized him after the one nickname. I don't know what what that stands for. I never asked. But it was a thing. And then that, they remembered each other. But then there's another story where I'd be like, my dad's capping more than anything in the world. He's like, yeah, the night that, Magic, told him not to go home with that dirty bitch. Quote.
Are you saying your dad told Magic not to go home with the girl that got him caught up forever?
According to my pops, but it's not true. Come on now, guys. It's certain things where it's okay, that's feasible. There's other ones where I'm like, all right, what are we doing?
All right, now.
What are we talking about? So that's why I said when you guys we go over the stuff that he said earlier on the pod, I'll be like, first off, the Providence Day story, I said he made it seem like it was oh, he had the decision and everything like that. And yes, he had his own decision as a father. But it was because Langston Works. I was going to my high school year coming from Northwest School of the Arts where they don't have any sports. And my brother had just played at West Charlotte. He wasn't getting recruited as highly as his teammates because Coach Terry wasn't necessarily pushing him the same way he was pushing Kennedy Meeks and Shaquem and these guys. So my dad said, you're not getting another one of my sons. He's never playing for you. My mom felt the same way. So then Langston Works, who's a journalist here in Charlotte, North Carolina, works for the Charlotte Observer. I've been playing with his son growing up. His name is Trey Words, plays in Notre Dame, played at Notre Dame. And he said that, hey, have you ever thought about putting Grant in private school? And next year, my dad was like, no, my mom was like, I think it'd be a great opportunity, but we haven't, and it's too expensive. He's like, well, blah, blah, blah. You should try and see what the application looks like and everything else. And then Providence Day, I was there. I was like, oh, this seems pretty cool. I got in. And then because of our financial situation at the time, and my dad didn't make any money, I was able to go there for like $1,000 a year when the tuition was probably like 21, 22, something like that, thousand. So next thing you know, we were able to go to Providence Day, and history is sent.
So your dad, when he was on camera, he said the moment he knew that you were going to make it in basketball was when you were 8 years old and you've learned how to rebound. What was the moment that you think you knew that you were going to make it in basketball?
All right, first off, I'm going to contradict that as well. My dad, damn sure, he might have said some stuff like that, probably just as a father being like, oh, my son's going to the NBA. But I feel like, I remember he said how him and his brother, my uncle, sat me down and said, I don't have to play basketball anymore. I was like, that's a real story. Like, they legit were like, hey, we understand you don't have to play anymore if you don't want to. You don't have to play for us and stuff like that. I'm like a junior at the time. I had offers. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I'm probably better than both of you guys ever were. So, like, I'm over here tripped out about that. But for me, I didn't really know that I was going to be an NBA player really till college. I knew I could play collegiately when I was in high school. Like, I was like, all right, I'm playing against Bam. I'm playing against Harry. I'm playing against all these top guys. And I'm like, yeah, I'm competing. So I'm like, of course, I can play at the next level. Like, this is college. And then I get to college, and I'm like, damn, like, I'm hooping. And I'm like, all right, my freshman year, I'm like, okay, cool. I'm at freshman team. I'm like, I didn't expect much. And then after that summer, Coach Barnes says that I can work and be the SEC Player of the Year next year if I work hard. So I worked as hard as I could, and I got Player of the Year. And that's when I knew I was like, oh, I'm gonna be a pro. But it wasn't until like probably my end of my freshman year, going into my second, that I knew that I was going to be an NBA player. I always try to take it one step at a time. Like, same when I got to the league, I never said like, oh, I'm going to be freaking LeBron James coming into the league. But I've always thought like you have to develop to that.
No, I love that.
Yeah.
I think like so many people, when they like see everyone's journey, they always think like, oh no, you're supposed to be like the star player. And like that's how it shoot. Like that's how we all were. But at different times, you have to work and grind. And so I think some people think that a professional player knows when he's like 5 years old that he's going to go to the NBA or NFL. And that's not really how it works. Like, you have to still, like, you might have those goals and dreams and aspirations, but you still have to trust in the process to get there. So it's cool, like, seeing, all three of us, like, that's how all of our stories were to get to where we are today. And we're still pushing forward.
Yeah, I know one thing that your dad mentioned earlier, too, was, like, talking about, like, your experience at college when you were starting getting going, like, how Tennessee basketball became a thing. I remember in college, obviously you go to University of Tennessee, a lot of times you would think UT football. I remember being in college and you guys were getting it going. It's just like, man, the basketball team, that's what I want to see. So, like, Grant, tell me a little bit, what is sort of like the burning passion for you in playing basketball? Like, for you, what is the mentality when you step on that court, when the whistle's blowing, the ball's tipped up? What goes on in your head? What's the mentality you bring?
The thing that I bring to each game is that I'm just going to do whatever it takes to win. My family, my entire life has always said basketball is all about scoring. It's all about how many points you put on. That's how you get notable. That's how you get recruited. That's how you get the next paycheck, contract. And I've always contradicted that, because for me, it's like I didn't start off by being the best player. I came into my first days of basketball and I got my jersey taken away. Like, it was one of those things. I showed up to CC first day I've ever decided to play basketball. And me and my brother showed up like we're about to play a game. And next thing you know, they said, we need your jerseys. And so they took our jerseys and gave them to other kids to play that game. And that's when we went to play for QCA. So from them point on, I was like, whatever it takes for me to be on the court and for me to win, that's the mentality that I bring. And that's every single approach. Like, there's going to be times where you're going to be asked to do more. Like, if I'm not the superstar player in my current situation, I know that there's going to be nights where the superstar needs me to step up. But then when I was a superstar player, I understood that there was nights where I had to get 40 for us to win the game, like a Vanderbilt where the entire team's cold and there's nothing else for us to do. Or if there's a game where Admiral's hooping like Gonzaga, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to feed AD and make sure he is good. And that way, we're going to win this game not by me scoring 28, 30 points, because guess what? They're trying to fixate everything on me right now. I'm going to make sure, okay, bam, Admiral's an open three, or Bowen has an open shot, Bowden has an open shot. I'm getting every rebound. I'm making sure that defensively, no matter if I foul out, Rui's not scoring or this person's not scoring. And I've always been selfish by that means. So I always describe myself as a selfless player in terms of basketball, just because I understand that the quality of life improves by success and by winning, not necessarily by 70 points, because there's a bunch of guys in high school and college that average 28 points a game or 24 points a game and barely make it to the next level.
So let's go back to your recruiting story. So obviously going to school, we talked to your dad a little bit. He was like, you weren't as highly recruited as you should have been, but you're considering going to some Ivies before you ended up committing to the University of Tennessee. So what or who turned the tide for you to become a Vol?
Yeah, so my recruitment was all mid majors. I had 2 high major offers in Tennessee and Boston College. Boston College had just went 0-18 in the ACC the year prior, and Tennessee, like wasn't necessarily a basketball school since Bruce Pearl and them had their whole run at Tennessee. So Coach Barnes had just been hired, going into my senior year, and he hired a coach that had been recruiting me at UNC Charlotte, who had been fired my sophomore year. And Coach Oliver, Desmond Oliver is his name, he came up to me and said, "Hey, Grant, I know that, we have a great relationship. We've built that over time, and you don't know anything about this staff, but I want you to trust me and trust that not only will this school and this opportunity be the best opportunity for you to get to the next level, but we're going to be able to make sure your dreams are accomplished." And I said, okay, I'll allow you to recruit me. By then, I'd already pretty much had an understanding of where I was going, but I was like, okay, let me give them a chance. A full season, let's see what it looks like. And so I ended up going to the campus. I ended up spending time and getting to know Coach Lanier, Coach Barnes, and kind of was like, all right, cool. So I kind of trust the staff, even though I just met them. But, it all comes down to like the last day. I'm going into my decision, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to sleep on it. I'm going to pray. And the school that's first on my mind when I wake up in the morning is where I'm going. And I woke up the next morning, and the first thing that I thought of was Tennessee basketball and going in the orange and being able to play for Coach Barnes. So,
talk about how difficult it is to call those coaching staff. That's what people don't see. Like, especially when you come from families like ours, it's like your parents are like, "Hey, no, you go call that coach and tell him you're not coming." Talk about like what that experience is like when you call those coaches, like, "Yo, I decided to go somewhere else," and that whole fiasco.
Yeah, so like for me, when I did that, I called, and you expect coaches to be like happy for you. You've built this relationship over 6 years, 4 or 5 years, and they're gonna be like, "Oh, we really appreciate you. Sorry for things that didn't work out." But not every experience is like that. I called Princeton and immediately got hung up on, and I was mid sentence, and I was like, "Oh, I can't even thank him for recruiting me or anything like that." So that kind of struck me.
Yeah.
I was like, I hope not every coach is like this when I call them. So I called Yale next because Yale was like the top school for me other than Tennessee. And Coach Jones and I had probably a 40-minute conversation about how like he's wishing me luck and how he sees their success and he wishes that could have worked out and all this other stuff. And that's how I knew it was a genuine relationship that I could foster for years to come and have a great relationship when I go wherever I am in my career. And finally, when I called Coach Barnes in Tennessee, they were hype. And I'm over here like, okay, so I know I'm really wanted, because we were the foundation class. My class at Tennessee was the first class that was Barnes' first recruiting class. And he always says those are the ones that you always remember.
So when you made the decision to go to UT, you call the coaches and you tell your family, like, what was your mom's reaction going into it?
Well, as you guys know, my mom worked for NASA. She's an electrical engineer. She's a very high academic person. So when you come in situations that we came out of, West Charlotte and places like that, and you have an opportunity to go to Ivy League, you leap at it. And that's the only way she saw it. She didn't care about anything basketball. She could care less about what I wanted dream-wise. She was like, you're a black man in society. You're going to an Ivy League school. And so when I committed to Tennessee, let's just say it kind of took her aback a little bit. And she didn't talk to me for like 2 months.
She talked to you for 2 months?
2 months, bro?
After committing, yeah. Because she didn't want me to go to Tennessee that badly. She was like, listen, like Yale, all these options, you can't accomplish your dreams from there. And I said it's more difficult, like they don't have the facilities and all this other stuff. And she's like, I don't support it. And then my mom worked at NASA, so she came back and forth between Houston and Charlotte when she could. And let's just say in the month and a half that she was gone in Houston, Let's just say I didn't really hear from her much. I think she came around after she got to meet Coach Barnes in a more formal way. We went to Tennessee. She met the people, and like when I moved in on campus, I remember Drazen. He is an agent now. He helped me move into my dorm, and the entire staff welcomed us with open arms.
I would like to make one point before Trey asks the next question. You left out one key factor in you coming to Tennessee. And he's sitting right here on this podcast across from you. And that is crazy that I am not incorporating your story.
Oh, listen,
I want my credit.
Listen.
I want my credit.
I can because you're the only reason why my mom would have even considered Tennessee. When she realized that Josh Dobbs was an aerospace engineer while being the starting quarterback at Tennessee football, when you guys were killing it, and she was like, I want you to be like him if you come here. I have more stories probably with Dobbs than any other person on the Tennessee campus. And let's just say we had a lot of great times, not only in football, basketball, bounce houses. It's been a great time in our life.
I was about to bring that up. I was about to say, what's your favorite memory with one of us two off the court during our time in college? Because I know for me, I was a senior when you were, I believe, a freshman. You had just gotten to campus, and then. Whoa, this is crazy. I totally forgot about this. So, Grant, I talked to you, got you to Tennessee, and then I turned around and hosted Trey on his official visit, and both of you guys got the Josh Dobbs weekend experience. I would love to hear whose experience was better.
The only thing I'll say about my experience is that at my age, let's just say I was 17 years old when I came on campus, and that didn't really matter. I had a great time in multiple different house parties. Had a great time. Spending time in Knoxville. I actually ran into our producer as we were walking by on my official visit, and he was a pledge at a fraternity. And next thing you know,
shout out Beach, by the way.
Shout out Beach, and I'm walking by with the basketball guys who had no pull at the time. Like, if I didn't have Dobbs in certain situations, I wouldn't have been all these parties when I was there. But we're walking by as basketball players, and all of a sudden, I'm like, is that Beach? Beach! Beach! He turns around. He's like, Grant, what are you doing here? And I'm like, wait, what are you doing here? He said, I'm a pledge. And I said, oh, can we get in the party? He's like,
Beach had no pool,
no juice.
Can I?
No
ask,
juice.
I'm gonna ask him. This is before Beach became the head of whatever frat that got kicked off of campus. But next thing you know, he's a pledge, and I walk up and we got in and we had a phenomenal time. I have some videos from that night that will forever be remembered.
Yeah, man, it was always a fun time, bro. I remember. I'm trying to think. Really, the Florida game, man. Like being able to watch you guys beat Florida in Neyland. I think it was a checkerboard game, right? So just being able to
early game.
Yeah, early checkerboard. So like being able to witness that, man, just feels like like you said, the passion. Like you talked about the football game against Oklahoma. When you're around that rabid just fan base, you can really feel it, man. It's a special place. But like I reiterated again, man, anytime Dobbs was around, it was a great night.
I want you to know this, Trey. So Trey, Grant, this was before you got to campus. Obviously, we know Trey. Like, he's, like, no maintenance, right? Like, doesn't need much to get by, nothing. Trey comes on his official visit. It's the last week of December of the official visits. So he's the only recruit. 5-star, #1 lineman in the world. And our coach is like, yo, we need this kid. Mind you, we're going to, like, the bowl game season where it's about to be my last game at Tennessee. So I'm about to leave campus, right? So I'm like, all right, like, I'm counting my days. Like, I just finished finals. I'm going to make sure this kid has a good weekend. And there's not a soul on campus. Trey comes to my house, right? We had the football team over. We have the guys over. We're having a grand time. I'm like, Trey, what do you need right now to make this a great night? Trey goes, I just need some pizza, man. So I have to call up the ball girls and go, yo, I got Trey Smith here. We're trying to get him to commit. Y'all want a 5-star commit? I just need like 12 pizzas to pull up the house. I couldn't get one only for Trey because we had the whole line there. So I got to get everyone a pizza. So they pulled out like 11:30, dropped off some pizza, man. Trey had a great time and committed to Tennessee.
Let me just say this. When Dobbs left campus, you know that in Juice, how he's like, oh, you got the juice now? It got transferred to Grant Williams. Let's just say that. had the juice on campus. Because Dobbs
became the guy.
He ran Tennessee. He was the guy, and Mr. Politician, shaking everybody's hand. Also being able to go in the nighttime, the Batman will come out, and next thing you know, he'd be a freaking savage and animal. Let's just say Grant Williams was able to get that transition well.
So I know you think you're the Batman. I play in Cleveland with Nick Chubb. He thinks he's the Batman. Who do you think is a more accurate depiction of Batman, you or Nick Chubb?
Oh, I definitely think I am. Just because, I've saved a big moment, and make sure, career-wise, no offense, you guys, as a Browns, organization, let's just say the big moments haven't necessarily been there yet.
No Brown slander. No Brown slander on the pod.
I love the guys on the Browns that have played there, but Game 7 Grant will forever be remembered. And same way Batman's forever remembered.
So if there was like a DC multiverse battle go down between professional athletes and you and Nick Chubb faced off in the streets of Gotham, you think you take him?
I'm Christian Bale. He's Ben Affleck. Let's just say that.
Wow. So in your time in Tennessee, what were some of the coldest moments, some of your favorite moments on the court that you had?
Probably one of my favorite moments is the SEC regular season title because, we were picked 13th that season. So I played that entire year through an injury that I wasn't supposed to. They wanted me to sit out. And I said, guys, I'd rather my leg fall off than sit. And the entire time, I remember there was one game we played LSU and I went for a block and I got flipped in the air and I landed and I couldn't feel my legs. And I legit was sitting there. I was like, oh, what the heck? I don't know what to do. I'm laying there and I didn't play the entire rest of the first half. Got massage, got treatment, and I played the next second half and had 20. But in that moments wise, regular season titles up there with number one. And then outside of regular season title, I would say the Florida game, my junior year. Because Florida, we were playing them as a rivalry game, and we actually started the bloodbath with Florida that ended up Tennessee-Florida the next year. Because that season, we go into Florida, and we're competitive game as always, and the fans are saying a lot of racist things to Admiral and racist things to Lamonte. And so afterwards, I told Admiral, I said, stay in the right corner. I'm going to jab. I'm going to hit you for a wide open three. We're going to win this game and walk out. And so I do it, boom, make the move, kick it to Admiral in the corner. He hits a three, and Admiral just turns around and goes like this. And we run down the court. We end up winning the game. And afterwards, you start seeing Lamonte do the Florida
Gator Club. I remember that was so cold, bro.
And so when I saw him do it, I said, all right, bet these dudes. I started doing it. And then as a team, we just started doing it to the stands, talking trash. And their SID runs full speed across the court and runs into me. And I just keep doing it. And I didn't even realize it. After the game, he had to come apologize on the bus because he got caught on video legit running across the court. He saw me and just shoulder checking me. And I just kept going as if I didn't even feel it. Fortunately enough, we were so loved in Knoxville back then that when we landed on campus, we were like, nah, we got to go out. We got to this is one of those nights that it's special. And so we proceed to get home and we go to a spot called Hannah's on the Strip. And we go inside, and as we walk in, everyone's doing the Gator chomp. And it's one of those where it was live. We walk in, we get, have a great night, doing it the entire time. Every time something would happen funny, that we would do it. And we'd take videos, and it was just an epic night and moment. It was similar to that. We weren't on the level of when you guys beat Florida, when people were burning couches in the street. But, we were on some type of level where it was all right, now we have the juice. This is time for us to really drive and go somewhere special.
All right. I do have to bring up one memory, not a great memory, but very controversial. Y'all playing Purdue. You're up 3. There's a couple minutes left in the game. Dude shoots a 3. Get the rebound. We're going down. You guys are about to put the game away. They call a foul. Was it a foul?
So no. I remember before that even happens, I'll give you a little bit of a little correction a bit. We were up I think by 2, and Carson Edwards drives full speed down the court. Double clutch layup, I block it. It goes off his foot and goes out of bounds. And they don't review it. We asked them to 6 times. They wouldn't review it. So we're like, all right, cool. We come out of I think it was either a timeout or just a play. They draw it up. Carson gets the ball in the corner. Lamonte jumps, Carson kicks his leg out, and Lamonte comes across the leg. And in college, that was such a bang call. Sometimes they called it, sometimes they didn't. And so they ended up calling a foul. We are livid. Carson goes to the line, makes one, misses the second, and then makes another one to tie the game, and we end up going to overtime and losing. But, like, I remember it like it was yesterday, like when blocking the shot, that's when the game should have been over. Because if the referees review it, it's out of bounds on them. We get the ball with like 4 seconds left, 2 seconds left, whatever else, and we inbound the ball for free throws to win the game and go to play Virginia. Carson and them ended up playing Virginia the next game, and it was a great game. But, you know, who knows? History would have been a little bit different if they call that game a little bit differently.
No doubt. Just to segue a little bit into another zone, man, just talking about your story, there's no way I can't mention Rick Barnes, man. And I think about, like, my official visit to Tennessee. One of the cool things Butch Jones and his staff did was allow my family and I the opportunity to actually visit with Coach Barnes in Thompson-Boling Arena at Pat Summitt Court. So one of the things we did was just empty court. I'm just shooting the basketball with my sister. She was a manager for Pat Summitt during the time. Just being there, you know, seeing basketball games as a little kid and having an opportunity to just be in a court alone was surreal itself. But it was really cool meeting Rick Barnes and getting to know him just a little bit. Grant, what are some of the funny stories you have with Coach Barnes? I remember, like, we used to have Vol Leaders class. That was where I really first got to know you a little bit. And we would come in, you know, I'd be like, dang, man, I just had a hard practice, or I'd be sore for the practice earlier today, and you'd be like, yeah, but I'm about to go do VersaClimber for like 2 hours. This is gonna, you know, it is what it is. So, like, tell me some stories with, like, Coach Barnes, man.
Yeah, Coach Barnes, man, he's tamed himself over the years. Because I always say, like, I had it bad, but I can only imagine what PJ Tucker had, or I can only imagine what Chris Mim had, and, like, these guys when Barnes was even more ruthless. Like, I got a Barnes that didn't curse. Like, I got, like, as an accomplishment, I got Barnes to curse twice in my career. That was my accomplishment. So, like, the fact is, like, we legit had so many grueling practices, as you know. Like, I always say, like, Barnes is soft now with these young guys that they have on the team now, because, like, they don't run like they did. Like, they don't, like, do vertical. Like, they don't, like, they go up running the stairs every now and again. Like, he's tough. But, like, there was times where Admiral would legit be on practice, and he'd have a 4-hour VersaClimber session. Just because, like, legit, he started in warm-ups, he would have a bad attitude. He said, just go over there, AD. Just go. And then Admiral would just be over there for hours going like this, working out. And it's like, what is going on? I remember there was a day that I got Barnes so livid because I knew how to get under Barnes' skin. And my freshman year, I always say there's growth because there's moments. My freshman year, Barnes made me cry. It was the only coach in my life that's ever made me cry, throw up, everything like that. And he made me run like 5.17s, which is a sideline touches in a minute. I told the story the other day. We did 117 steps. Everyone makes it. We're done. Everyone made it. He said, oh, we want to see who's really tough. It's because y'all's coach decided to come to practice. Butch Jones is in practice, sitting there like this with Barnes. And all of a sudden, Barnes is like, we're going to see who's really tough. Let's get on back on the sideline, G. And so we run another 17. No one makes it. He's like, no one wants to get better. No one wants to push themselves. 85-2. We do like 5 or 6 85-2s, which is left-hand layups in 2 minutes. And after we do the 85-2s, left-hand layups in 2 minutes, we had to do like 5 or 6 of them. He said, back on the sideline. We run 3 more 17s. And then everybody's laid down on the ground. Barnes like, practice is done. I made the mistake of getting up first. I got up to leave. And he says, Grant, come over here. And I'm like, what's up, coach? He says, you really think you're going to be great? You really think you want to be better? I said, yeah, coach, I really do. Like, I pushed myself today. He said, no, I don't think so. Go. And went to the ropes, was on the ropes crying. Then I had to run another 17.
On the ropes?
Yeah, and I had to run another 17, and I was done. And I laid there for 2.5 hours on the floor, sprawled out, and G had to come upstairs and give me, like, fluids and everything else and be like, hey, man, you got to go, man. You got class in the morning. You can't stay here all night. And so after that year, going into my second year when we won the title, and the next year, I just knew him, so I could get under his skin. So there was a practice, and Barnes has this thing where he picks a guy each day. I never really say that to the young guys because I want them to know that. But he picks a guy before coming into practice saying, I'm going to test him. And next thing you know, it was my day. So I knew by the start of it was my day because in the shell drill, which is like defensive concepts, I close out. He's like, Grant, that wasn't hard enough. Go to VersaClimber. And I'm like, okay, so it was my day. So I went over there, did it. I come back, and normally after the vertical climber, your legs are shot. So I come back saying, all right, I'm not letting anybody score. I'm playing hard, and I'm going to make them mad. So next thing you know, we do multiple possessions. No one's scoring, no one's scoring. He's like, y'all can't go after it, go at them. And then I'm like, no, coach, they're not tough enough. And I'm just talking trash to him, egging them on. And he's like, Grant, shut up. And finally someone scores. He's like, oh, Grant, you want to play hard? Line up. And then I had to box out guys. The full line, everybody lines up. You have to box them out and get 3 straight rebounds. If you don't, you're staying in the hole. And I get 3 straight rebounds immediately. And I'm like, see, coach, these guys ain't tough enough. And I talking trash to him. So the next possession, something happens. I'd mess up or do something wrong. It's like, Grant, all this talking around, and I go over there. I said, I'll go over there. I'll spend the whole practice over there if you want me to. And he's like, Grant, shut up. So I'm just and then finally he tries to pick up a basketball and throw it at me, and I caught it.
Oh, you were just on some.
And I rolled it.
You just were trying to get on his back.
Asking for it, man.
And then I rolled it back. I rolled it back to him and turned around and walked to the first climber. He was like, "Don't walk away." He tried to pick up the ball and throw it again, missed me. And mind you, Barnes is old, so I'm just getting his temp up. And so next thing you know, finally. G's like, come on, man, you can't be doing that, man. Trying to hold the laugh back because he knew what I was doing. He's like, come on, man, you can't be doing that, coach, man. I said, nah, G, you know what's going on. He's like, nah, man, just come on, push it, man. Just finish it out. We'll be good. We'll make it through the practice. And I'm like, all right, cool. So we make it through the practice. I go over to Barnes. I'm like, I was just messing with you all day, coach. I'm sorry. He's like, Grant, I can't stand you. You're such a... Trying not to curse. But I got to curse 2 other times when we were playing in a game, and another time he called me like an asshole. But it's okay. I'm a nice guy. I keep saying the name G. And when I say G, I'm referring to Garrett Maidenwald. He's our strength coach at Tennessee. He's still there today. He's bat crazy. Man is the only reason why I got to be the player I was at Tennessee was because of him. We had fat camp. Legit, when I first got to campus, I was in fat camp with G trying to get my body fat down. And he was the guy that pushed me. And so this man is so crazy that I've legit seen this man have 500 pounds on a trap bar, walk it with a sled pulling him with 2 other plates on the sled, walk it, say 20 meters, do 5 deadlifts, come out of it, and legit have a full body of sweat, right? The other day I was back at Tennessee. This man's lifting and doing 12, 15 reps at 575. And he's
doing this for fun?
He's doing this because he's crazy. And and so this man legit, he's like, how many do you think I can get? I said, I think you got 7. Because when I was in school, you did 4. He's like, oh man, that's it? And next thing you know, this other strength coach that works now, he's like, you really think I'm going to get 7? He's probably 12, 15. And as he's going to start, he does 5, and as he gets to 6 and 7, he blacks out, and he legit is about to fall over. You lift too strong and you're too heavy, and he legit is to faint. He holds himself up, drops the weights, has to basically sit him down. He's like, man, it's not fucking good enough, man. He's like, I'm like, you gonna go again, G? He's like,
what?
Hey, man. He's like, yeah, man. What are you doing, man? I'll be all right. Just take a second. You know water? He's like, I don't need no water, man. I'm good. I give him water. He drinks it. Gets back on the plate. How many I do there? I said 5. I said, all right, gotta beat it. And so he starts going again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, screaming. Ha ha ha. It's 8. And then almost passes out again at 9. Mind you, I told him to move the weights up because he's right beside the dumbbell bar. We put on the dumbbells. If he faints, he's hitting his head. He said, his response to me was, if I do that, I'm the idiot. He said, I'll fall forward. And that's why I said, you should move this. He said, no, I'll fall forward. I'm like, you are absolutely a monster. And I said, this is why I always love coming back to Tennessee's campus.
Yeah, so I've heard some various stories about Coach G, man. What are some of the weirdest tactics he had in terms of getting his athletes to the best level? What are some of the weirdest things that he would do? I mean, the guy's lifting 500 pounds just because he feels like it. What was he doing with y'all? What are some of the strange stories he had?
Yeah, so the best part about G is he would do every lift that the players did. So if we had 3 lifts that day, with the players, he would lift the players. So you can never call him out and be like, all right, like I'm not lifting it today, G. So I've done it 3 times, man. You can't be that sore. Can't be that tired, man. And so like when I was in fat camp, what I used to have to do is I'd have to send photos of my meals. So I'd have to send photos of like the meal that I was eating that day, and then I would send it to him. He'd be like, nah, take some of the rice away, add some vegetables, blah, 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 blah. And each player was different. Like mine was always food, so that's what I'd have to do when I was in fat camp before I got my weight down. And then with DJ Burns, he plays at NC State now. If you look him up now compared to what he looked like when he was in Tennessee, completely different. DJ was always similar to me, struggled with weight. When he was at Tennessee, he was in the best shape of his life. And G legit said, all right, man, DJ would take pictures, but then he would have a second plate to the side. And so G figured that out. G figured that out and said, all right, since you want to do that, he said, give me your keys. He takes the keys from DJ and says, you get these back when you lose the weight. So he had to walk the campus the entire time. He had to walk wherever he was going. He had to walk. So like whether it was class, if he had to go to like food, he had to walk. Like, and you ask DJ, he legit be at 6 a.m. just walking because he was like, I gotta go for a walk. Like I gotta go this. I gotta clear my mind.
Gotta lose this weight.
And he fell in love with walking because of it. And you would ask him like, DJ, you want to ride home? He's like, I'm gonna walk. Mind you, we're like freaking at Knox Ridge. I'm like, how are you walking? There's a highway.
I'd be remiss to not bring it up. Like you said, I mean, we got an aerospace engineer in Dobbs on the podcast right now. Obviously, Grant, your mom working at NASA. And lately, the country, really the world's been in a buzz about the UFO craze. So I know I looked into the UFO subcommittee recently with Tim Burchett sort of spearheading the event. So I got to ask you, Grant, man, like, do you think aliens are real or not? What's the verdict from Grant Williams?
From Grant Williams, they're guaranteed to be real.
Oh my gosh!
My mom works for NASA, so
Does she have a picture?
I'm gonna tell this story, and hopefully she doesn't get in trouble. I think she plans to retire anytime soon anyway. So if she does, cool. But let's just say, I call my mom. Like I remember I was talking to my mom when I was younger, asking her, "Aliens real? All these things real?" And she would be like, "Yes, like they are." And I was at a young age because she trusted me, and I call her when I was like 8 years old or 6 years old, and I call her from campus, like my elementary school, and have her on speakerphone. I'm like, Mom, aren't aliens real? Didn't you tell me this the other day? She said, yes, like, da-da-da-da, like, tell me on speaker to my friends. And I'm like, I told you guys. And she's like, am I on speakerphone? And I said, yeah. She was like, she hung up immediately. And I was like, that was weird. So I get home and she like lectured me like I'm not supposed to say that. Like I'm not supposed to tell anybody. Like this is private information and like stuff like that. So all the buzz about how UFOs are a thing right now, I've known aliens are real for a long time. It's crazy to think that there's not livable planets elsewhere in our as many galaxies as there are outside of our solar system.
So I'm not on the table saying aliens aren't real, as you said. Galaxies far and vast. There's a ton of habitable planets that we found and a lot that we haven't found. Do you think aliens have visited Earth?
I do, just because with Area 51 and everything that's actually down there and the things that they haven't told us, there's a bunch of things that I feel like are out of our means as a society, that I feel like, the government and governments across the globe are kind of protecting us from. And the fact that aliens are definitely real and definitely have visited Earth, even just the one I know Trey has a great story about it. I feel like there are more like it's funny. We've talked about this in the past, but definitely
some of that UFO he saw in Texas. I'm not buying it.
I'm telling you, I know what I saw.
I'm not buying it one bit.
I was a guy. I didn't care if there's a damn alien. I didn't care ET was out there, but when I saw something, I had to just look into it a little bit further. But like Grant said, and Dobbs, I know you're a skeptic. Hopefully we can change and persuade your mind.
I'm a firm non-believer.
Hey, you heard it from Grant. His mom worked at NASA, man.
I got 2 points I'll make. One, Area 51. Grant brought it up. If you read the book Area 51, the reason the rumors of Area 51 originally started was because after World War II. We all know Nazi Germany was doing human experiments, and there's a ton of disformities from people that were coming from Germany, right? Berlin Wall goes down. They take those people and they seek asylum in the United States. Where do they put them? A lot of them went to Area 51 out in Nevada. Okay, so if you're a person who doesn't, and this was obviously, they came from Nazi Germany regime, so obviously it wasn't very spoken of that these people were being housed in Nevada. If you're an outside person, you walk into this military base, and there's these people with deformities to the point where they don't even look human, you'll probably think they're aliens too.
So my question for you, Dobbs, is after years of, the Nazi Germany, Berlin, why was Area 51 still a thing when 30, 40 years down the line?
I mean, then Area 51 was the home of the spy planes. So all the spy planes left from Area 51 during the Cold War. And so it housed all the supersonic technology that Americans and people across the world are building that are going faster than the speed of sound. Planes that when they were built, no one knew they existed. So again, if you are an outsider, not knowing the technology that's being created at Area 51, and you see a plane going supersonic above you, you're going to be like, oh, that's probably a UFO. I will say I do need to do more research, but Trey, Grant, that will queue up our next guest. We're going to try to get on Tim Burchett, who Trey is a big fan of. Me, I'm a non-believer.
Let's go.
I'm going to come with my facts.
All right, guys, we wrapped it up all the way from Grant's humble beginnings in North Carolina to the UFO theories that we all have right now. But Grant, I just want to say thank you for coming on the podcast today, man. Really enjoyed it, brother. Really look forward to your journey, the rest of your career, especially with the Dallas Mavericks. I'll be in Dallas this year. Can't wait to watch you play. Can't wait to watch you keep dominating the game you love. Thanks again, man, from the bottom of our hearts for coming on this podcast, brother.
Thank you, brother, for having me, and congratulations yourself because you're the only one for ring out of us three. So hopefully we can change that.
Sir, come on.
We got to change
You'll
that.
get one. Let's get it.
Thanks for coming on. Oh, let me hold $1 too. I'm gonna shoot you my Venmo. I know you just signed that card. I'll shoot you my Venmo after the show. I need to get something.